Princess India, back again, looking less sleepy. You know what I'm saying? Whatnot or whatever. So Virgo, I'm sorry. My apologies. I had the signs out of order, right? And I said I was going to put them in order, but then when I started putting them in order in my head as I was talking, I somehow skipped you all. But I feel like this all happened for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Spirit always works through human error, you know? But I feel like this happened for a reason because it gives me an opportunity to expound upon some things. So, I'm going to go through you guys questions that you asked, but of course we're going to start with Virgo and my rising sign Gemini that feels a little neglected. I got y'all, you know what I'm saying? But the thing it gives me an opportunity to expound on is the first time that we did the recaps was last month, but this is the first month I actually went through each sign and like said specifically, because last month it was very general, but this month I was led to do the specific wrap up of each sign. But the thing that's important here, I want to give a shout out to Kristen because she is the freaking bomb, okay? Because she literally time-stamped every single freaking time. She's one of my mods. She time-stamped every freaking time I mentioned a sign. She time-stamped all of the transitions. Like, thank you for that. She's so amazing. But I'm going to, let me see here. Don't start. Okay. I was trying not to hear myself talk because I'm totally mortified by hearing myself. But Kristen Bell, and I don't know, she's an amazing subbie. I just have to say that. You know what I'm saying? But anywho, with Virgo, I don't know how I ended up skipping you guys, but I did nonetheless. But the thing that I get to expound on with you all, what I was saying before, I was giving Kristen a shout out and totally got off track. But anyway, you saw how I played that off? Moving right along. So anyway, but the thing that's important, it's super dope to go directly to your sign, but the interesting thing about the recap and why I was led to start doing those last month is because, you know, not just with me, but with all readers, a lot of times the signs run into each other, or there'll be certain times where it's a sign where the message that comes, I feel like it's something that everyone can benefit from. So the whole purpose of these recaps is for us to learn from the other signs because, you know, we have the signs everywhere in our chart, but I mean, you're not typically going to watch your Mars sign, you know, or, you know, like me, I'm an Aries North Node. I'm not necessarily going to go watch an Aries reading, you know, per se. But then you have Eastern astrology, and then you have Western. And a lot of times your signs are different with Eastern astrology versus Western. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, different people end up, you know, coming up. Things you can resonate with will end up coming up in another sign, but you may never think to watch it, right? But the thing I look at with all 12 signs is each little tidbit that I said about all 12 signs, this is something that the collective can take as a lesson, like without you having to go watch the entire sign. You know what I mean? Unless it's like, you know, in your sun, moon, rising, Venus, whatever, unless you want to. But this is a way where all of the lessons that each sign learned, even though this may be relevant in different parts of your life, even if you use the timestamps and go to your specific sign, I would still say it would behoove you to listen to all of them because each sign's lesson is something that you can apply to your life in some other area that you may not necessarily be thinking about. So just keep that in mind going forward. So for my Virgos, the thing I had written down for you guys, the most important takeaway from your reading for the month of November is the fruit of life or death. Which are you eating? And that's why in the beginning of the video, I was saying that with more of the why in alignment with the lower vibrational energy that I was picking up, where I talked about the whole umbrella and like the 2 tiers and like the whole fruit building aspect. And then the other side of it was the blueprint in so many words. And I got an even better analogy of that with balancing divine masculine feminine energy and whatnot. But I had mentioned Virgo with that. That's why I don't know how the heck I skipped y'all. But what we're talking about here and what came up in Sagittarius December reading was this epiphany that happens this month, whether it's a complete halt, stop, ending, whatever, that happened in November, or, you know, an epiphany, an aha moment that like pumps the brakes, right? Because we've all been on autopilot, like we were saying in the recap. So the purpose of this is to, you know, stop the proverbial car so we can become aware and conscious of who we are, where we are, and what we're doing. And if we feel led to make changes in who we are, where we are, and what we're doing, we're being offered a split-second view. Because I feel like with the tunnel vision autopilot that all of us have been in, and it's not in all aspects of your life, it's different areas of your life. So it could be finances, it could be love, it could be whatever, right? But it's just the fact that you've had tunnel vision and you've been headed towards this thing, but in the process of being headed towards this thing, you're just doing what you're supposed to do. And many of us in so many ways have lost the why or the passion, the drive, the meaning, the reason, the purpose, right? So with the split second aha, epiphany, shock, or whatever, you get to see another path, right? And this also aligns with Gemini as well. You get to see another path. And with this other path, you now have the choice, like we always talk about the beauty of the catalytic crossroads, where we create our reality by the choices that we make. So now the power is being put back in your hands, which is why we're shifting from autopilot to manual. Because whether you take this path or not is totally up to you, right? Because we all have free will. So you can stay on the path that you're on, you know, if it's low vibrational or not serving your highest good, or, you know, it's overwhelming, cumbersome, you know, confusing, conflicting, what have you. If you're not happy on that path, you can choose the alternate route. You could take the exit, right? And take another path. Or you can choose to stay on this path. But the catch-22 is whatever you choose, and this is for Virgo, but I say everyone can learn from this. Whatever it is that you choose from this point forward, it's what you elected to do, right? Despite your circumstance, despite your childhood or your past or whatever, because it doesn't necessarily have to be in physicality. It's all about energetically and how you're orienting your energy. So hypothetically, if it was a mindset, Virgo, and it was self-defeating thoughts and, you know, I'm not good enough, or what we talked about months ago of wanting to maintain this external vision or image for other people to see, and behind that veneer, you're not really happy, you have the option to stay on the path that you're on, keeping that external veneer and being unhappy on the inside, or you can elect to go the other path, which is finding your true happiness. But it's totally up to you what you choose, right? So that's what we're talking about. But in the sense of how I see it, it's a path of life or death, which makes me think of the scripture. There's two paths before you, life and death. Choose life. Just because it's in your highest good. You know what I'm saying? So what we're really talking about, if we get deeper with that, life and death is nothing more than the higher mind, right? Which would be Christ consciousness, or the lower mind, right? Which would be je devil, right? The 3D mind, the ego, all the things that are serving the physical flesh and the five senses and things of the sort. And I have a visual aid just in case you were wondering. So, Virgo, and all other signs, because everyone can learn from this, especially since this came up in Sagittarius. So, the thing that y'all know about me with tarot, I'm really weird with it, and I get all into it and things of the sort, right? So we look at the devil card. The devil card is number 15. If we're talking about numerology, you reduce 15 to 6, and what do you get? You get the number 6 in the Lover's card, right? So if I give you guys a visual illustration of how we've been up until this point, this has been our autopilot. It has been us in chains, and if you listen to my poem, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's us in chains. It's us in bondage to the matrix, the lower vibrational mind, right? All of the stuff that the world tells us that we need to do. Instagram and Facebook, and we need to lose weight, and I need to do this, I need to be successful, and money, and let me focus on all of this external stuff and completely emaciate my spirit, man. You know what I'm saying? It's all external focus. Now, these are things in different areas of each of our lives that we have been in bondage to. If we say this on a micro scale for the collective, we're literally talking about people who were asleep and them becoming sleep woke, and the people being sleep woke becoming woke, those who are woke becoming woke. You know what I'm saying? So it's a progression, it's an ascension, right? So on the collective scale, it's people awakening, right? Because this is the first awakening, the first dark night of the soul, or even the purge video that I put up in March is talking about this. It's we continuously cycle around to this devil energy, but it's just really, really heavy this time around because all throughout our growth process, we're always going to come back here and we're going to find more chains, right? But this to me is the epic expansion of consciousness in the collective. So, you know, entering the age of Aquarius, you know, the water bearer and water being spirit and all this other kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? The whole left behind tribulation, all these good, you know, analogies we've been using all month. But this is where we've been. This aha moment now allows you to see, hey, you have a choice. You ain't got to be here. You thought you were stuck here, but you're not. You know what I'm saying? Hell is the absence of God, and you're here right now in your brain, but you have a choice. The greatest superpower that all human beings possess, the one most often overlooked, is our ability to choose. So we are awakening, or like I said on Halloween, that many of us are awakening to realize that we were already dead. And this means dead in the sense of, proverbially speaking, in our 3D matrix mindset, right? So snuffing out spirit, hell being the absence of God. This is a reawakening of spirit, spirituality, spiritual consciousness, ascension, whatever it is that you want to call it. But the whole key is how do you channel that energy? Are you, or even if we go to the Native American proverb, if we look at this as the wolves that you feed, which wolf are you going to feed? Are you going to feed life, higher vibe energy, or death, lower vibe energy, light or dark, good or evil? You know what I'm saying? So that's what the whole thing is for Virgo that I saw, which is a different manifestation of the same thing that I saw with Gemini. But with Gemini, it was a little bit more tangible. So for my Virgo people, it's you realizing where you are, what tree you're eating from, right? Are things adding to you or are they taking away? Are you feeding your spirit? Do you have a spiritual practice? Are you in alignment with your calling? Do you know what your purpose is? Things of the sort, right? And knowing that you have the choice and the opportunity now to choose differently, right? And I say that goes for everyone. So with Gemini, the fixation for you all was very much on this card, but it was the birth of the middle road in so many words, right? So with Gemini, we're talking about the marriage. So if we look at this as like twins, right? Divine masculine, wait, is that feminine? No, divine feminine and divine masculine energy, right? We're talking about the marriage between these two. So it's not Gemini choosing this road or that road. It's the realization that, like, if we use even the Temperance card as an example, it's the realization that through alchemy, a third way is created through that transmutation. So it was never about choosing the good twin or the evil twin. You know, am I a good girl or am I a bad girl? Am I a good boy or am I a bad boy? It's the fact that you are both of these things at one time. And there was never a need to choose. This aligns very much with what came up for Capricorn, where we talked about the 3D manifestation of a balance of masculine and feminine energy being done through action and inaction. The inaction is in rest, in peace, our connection with spirit so that we can hear, receive inspiration. The masculine energy is taking action on that divine information. And the thing that I'm being told now is that it's a need to recognize that, because in so many words, we receive divine inspiration from spirit, but we also receive low vibrational influence or inspiration from dark, lower vibrational energy. right? Because we're susceptible to both because we are in the realm of the dyad. So we have both light and dark here, right? So that doesn't make darkness any less important, but, you know, like I said, how spirit works through human error, it's so the same with these darker forces, so to speak. So with Gemini, it's about the epic marriage between these two facets of yourself, and you never having to be one or the other. But it's the secret pathway is revealed for Gemini, right, to you guys' ascension by the balance between these two extremes. So the two twins, right? So it's them coming together. God, this is going to sound so incestuous. Follow me, people. Don't judge me. It's just how I see it. So it's not so, okay, well, it's the twins, but if we could just throw Adam and Eve in here right quick so, you know, we don't make this really incestuous because it's kind of gross. Because the way that I was seeing it is, it's like you have the good twin and the evil twin, or the masculine and the feminine, that are coming together, and the child that they birth, right? Aside from all of the genetic, you know, mutations they would have if, you know, I'm just going to get out of that energy, moving right along. But it's the two extremes coming together to birth something new. So it's the two becoming one in this force that comes out, right? So what we're talking about for Gemini is what it is that you guys are manifesting into this realm. So it's an inspiration that Gemini has received, or clarity that they have received. And from this seed, right, with your feminine energy that you've received, you're going to take your masculine energy and you're going to bring what's in you out, right? But it's a need to free oneself from bondage. So when we talk about the conflict, well, can't talk right now. I can't even blame Mercury retrograde. But anyway, but the conflict is because there's a disunion within. So there's a need to have a marriage or a unity within to have all facets of yourself on one accord, right? And the other thing that I said with you guys is interdependence is how you balance the two extremes. And what we're talking about interdependence, that's different than independence and codependence, right? Because independence is I don't need nobody. You know what I'm saying? And then codependence is like, I don't know what I am without you. I need you, right? Interdependence says that I am secure within myself. I am everything, right? And I'm going to align with other people, things, circumstances, and situations that are also everything whole within themselves, so that the two of us can come together and be interdependent. So the same with masculine and feminine energy. It's like masculine energy is not like, oh my gosh, I'm the most important. You know what I'm saying? And we don't really need you, feminine energy. You know what I'm saying? And wow, this is getting even deeper because now we're going on a micro level. Because the thing I'm hearing is this is with, like, I talked about this months ago as well about toxic masculinity. It's not really so much, toxic masculinity is not about men, right? It's not about trying to kill or deface or degrade or marginalize or subjugate the male gender and say, smash the patriarchy, hallelujah for the matriarchy. We're not talking about that. That is literally what we have done since the beginning of time. The matriarchy had a reign prior to the patriarchy and the very patriarchal standard religions that many of us still practice until today. And if we get really, you know, conspiracy theorists about it, it's not really a conspiracy theory, it's just history. But the story of Adam and Eve is pretty much in every single, you know, patriarchal religion. But it's believed that for many, that this was an allegory because, you know, the whole snake in the garden was representative of feminine energy, kundalini, and all that good stuff. But of the story of creation more or less being, well, not creation, but the garden, it being a writing out of history of the feminine energy, right? Like the reign of the matriarchy, because we all know, like, ancient religions, they, you know, they're the, like, instance, the high priestess, you know, they were led by women, you know what I mean? Or women were, you know, equal or leaders in the sense of, like, in the physical body or in the whole, you know, deity construct and so on and so forth. And those are more of your monotheistic religions. Wait, did I say that right? Not monotheistic, polytheistic. And the monotheistic religions are more patriarchal based, where there's like the dude, that's the leader, you know, the higher power is a dude. But in case anyone didn't know, God is not a man. Because on the ethereal side, we don't need, you know, those parts, you know? So it's genderless. Just saying, throwing that out there. The only need for gender is in the 3D realm, but that's neither here nor there. But it's the whole fact of like, that's been washed out. Patriarchal, you know, led religions became the standard norm that many of us are familiar with today. And with the rise of toxic masculinity, it's not about men. It's just the simple fact that the masculine energy in the form of action, like doing, money, conquer, domination, divide, marginalize, subjugate, you know what I'm saying? Like that whole energy that I've been talking about in all these videos that I've been putting out. It's a very division-oriented, devil-like energy. You know what I mean? It's separating people, and it's a hierarchy. So when we talk about this on a macro level, and then down on the micro level, using Gemini as an example, the birth of this middle road would in essence be the gateway to the age of Aquarius, which is a state that humanity has never existed in. So it's not one being better than the other, right? On an individual level, it's us finding wholeness within ourselves, healing the hole in our soul. And that is done by realizing that there was never a hole there at all. You know, you've been a W hole and not an H hole. I hope somebody gets that. But moving right along. But it's realizing the wholeness within, that interdependence. It's realizing the importance of one's own self-mastery, one sustaining self as well as others, but not a codependency to where we neglect the self and give to others, or narcissism slash, you know, toxic masculinity slash pride, which is all about gimme, 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 me, mine, 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 self-preservation. Let me take care of me first. And then like, you know, you can lay in squalor over there somewhere because it's all about me. It's birthing a complete new pathway, which is a complete new state of being, which is a marriage between the two. Action, inaction, man, woman, masculine, feminine. So it's more or less the child of these two ways of being that we've existed in for eons, right? So that's why the age of Aquarius is so much of a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a whole new way of being, and what we're all experiencing energetically or have experienced this month has a great deal to do with that. So that's why a lot of things are being kind of rattled up, and why so much of the readings and stuff have talked about authenticity, have talked about truth to self. What is your truth? What do you believe? Because there's importance and precedence in all of these things, but it's incorporating more of a holistic way of being, and not just, you know, like more or less now I'm starting to use psychology terms, more or less like a systems approach. If I can quote Gregory Bateson real quick, we're talking about an ecology of mind here. You know what I'm saying? Understanding that everything is affecting everything and everything is interconnected. That's the age that we're stepping into now. And going back to what I was saying in the beginning, why I think the division of signs is important, because I can, you know, I don't like, if I'm not a Pisces and I go listen to a Pisces reading and they have really dope stuff going on for them, I don't want to be like, oh, that's about me, because it's like, I'm not a Pisces. So I understand like the division of signs. It's important. So you feel like an automatic sense of resonance because you're that sign. So you can kind of see what resonates with you within that. But the thing that's very much important is just like we have opposite signs, me being a Taurus and, you know, Scorpio being my opposite sign. And I see that as like my shadow. So I sometimes watch Scorpio videos because the stuff that I'm trying to suppress in my subconscious that comes out in my dream space will a lot of times be in my face in a Scorpio reading, because it could be something that Scorpio is going through in the external world, like, you know, them battling with, you know, their boss at work. But for me, it's two ideas in my head that are battling against each other, or two values that are battling with each other. and I can gain insight on how to heal that discord, which is one of the questions that we're going to get into in a second. But it gives me insight on how to heal that discord within me by looking at it in an external sense of what it is that Scorpio is going through. So I say all of that to say that, so you don't have to watch all 12 signs videos. Each one of these things that each sign was to learn from their reading this month, regardless if you have it in your chart or not, I don't care where it's at in your chart. These are all, this is all wisdom and lessons that we can apply to our life to help us on that pathway to this holistic state of being as well as living. So I hope my Geminis and my Virgos are okay with that. I hope I chatted up enough.